Hi, everyone. We're just about ready to start. I've got you in listen-only mode. This is Cheryl Velser I'm the Director of Agency Sales for South African Airways Vacations, along with Mark Black, who's one of our Africa specialists and actually visited Rwanda and Uganda just a few months ago. So this is being recorded, and the recording will actually be up on the travel agent portal on our website in a couple of days. If you have any questions, just hold them till the end of the presentation and then just pop them into the question box, and we'll be happy to answer them. So we're getting started now, and this presentation is about Rwanda and Uganda, especially around the product of gorilla trekking. And again, our packages are listed up on our website for both countries, and we're getting ready to start now. So a little bit about South African Airways Vacations to some of you who are not familiar with us. We are an airline branded program operated by DSA Vacations. We're headquartered in Tucson, Arizona. And you might just say, why Tucson? Well, the president of SAA Vacations is South African. He married a local girl from Tucson, so now all of us are here in Tucson. So what makes us unique? Well, we offer incredible air-inclusive vacation package. The pricing is extremely attractive, and we always include the taxes and fees in our advertised packages that are listed on our website and in our brochure. Our specialists are available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Of course, you can reach us on the weekend by our Africa specialists put their cell phone in their signature, and if you're trying to close that sale or confirm an itinerary or proposal that you've sent to your clients, we work all the time just like our travel advisors do. Our virtual itinerary feature on our website really allows you to explore the programs on a day-by-day basis. This is very good training when you look at our packages on the website, because all of those are work well with the flow of the itinerary, and then you can actually train yourself on the different hotels we offer and game lodges. We offer in-Africa assistance in all the destinations we offer. We offer you Southern Africa, East Africa, the Indian Ocean Islands, and also West Africa. So if the client has a challenge while they're in that part of the world, they can't get hold of you or us, our offices in Africa can assist them should an emergency arise. On our website, the live chat feature allows you to speak to an Africa specialist at your convenience. Actually, this live chat feature is most popular with travel agents. If you have a client on the phone, it's monitored during business hours and on the weekend. You can reach out to us and ask that quick question so you can help move your potential booking along. And of course, I like to say we're all highly trained and motivated staff, and we're all passionate about selling Africa. And of course, with all of our package, flights are included. So all of the flights are on South African Airways or our code share partners. Within Africa, we are a member of the Star Alliance. Economy flights from JFK or Washington Dulles. The flights from JFK are approximately 15.5 hours long from JFK to Johannesburg, and we can easily include the routing on down to Cape Town or any other destination that the client is traveling to. The flight from Washington Dulles Airport is about 17.5 hours, It does stop certain days of the week in Accra, certain days of the week in Senegal. Easy connections from JFK to Southern and East Africa. Well, the connections for East Africa work best using the JFK gateway. SAA Vacations does offer special rates at the JFK Airport Hilton should your client wish to overnight prior to their flight. So just ask any of our consultants there and they can assist you. We also offer the internal flights within Africa. The advantage of flying on South African Airways is those internal flights are at reduced cost rather than if they choose to use frequent flyer miles, and then we do the internal flights. Taxes and fees are always included in our advertised packages. And of course, we offer a variety of air add-ons from a number of U.S. cities. 2 classes of service. We also have economy and premium business class. And of course, premium business class is available at additional cost. So here are some great photos of our SAA's premium business class. We like to say that you have direct aisle access, fully lie flat bed, and of course, there's nothing more enjoyable than being served by the South African flight attendants, and of course, having those gourmet meals and award-winning South African wine. In economy class, we like to say you're never more than 1 seat away from the aisle. The configuration is 2, 4, and 2. And of course, complimentary bar service and South African wines and great South African hospitality. So here's our map of Africa, just to give you reference on where Uganda and Rwanda is located. We all seem to be a little geography challenged, but travel advisors love maps, so we like to include those maps when we're doing a webinar. When you look at our FlySAAVacations.com website, and you see the packages for Rwanda and Uganda. So we offer 2 as an example for Rwanda and 2 packages for Uganda. These are just suggested itineraries. We customize everything, and it all depends on where the client is traveling from. So let's say they decide to start off in South Africa, and then they want to go up to Rwanda or Uganda for gorilla trekking. We can do that as well. A lot of times Kenya and Uganda are combined, and then Tanzania and Rwanda are also combined. So wherever the client's coming from, we can customize the flights and also their gorilla treks, just exactly what the client wants to do. So the packages, we're going to give you one sample package for Rwanda and a sample package for Uganda, but just keep in mind there are a number of incredible accommodations throughout both of these countries. And also, like I said, we can tailor-make whatever the client wishes. For Rwanda, the gorilla permits are about $1,500 each. During certain times of the year, if you include 2 national parks, the gorilla permits are reduced by 30%. The gorilla permits for Uganda are $600. So it's a little less expensive. And now I'm going to introduce Mark Black. Mark has been with us for many years now. And like I said, he just traveled to Rwanda and Uganda. So over to you, Mark.
Thanks so much, Cheryl, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Welcome to our webinar. Let's revisit briefly the map of Rwanda. You see Kigali, where the city you'll fly into, whether you're coming from South Africa or East Africa. They're in the center of the map there. In the upper left-hand corner of that map is Volcanoes National Park, and that's where our gorilla trekking is primarily going to be focused. But just as a general overview, there are three major national forests or parks in Rwanda. The Volcanoes National Park, as I mentioned, up in the upper left-hand corner, that borders Uganda and the Republic of Congo. On the lower left corner there is the Nwenge Forest National Park. And in the upper right-hand is their other national park, the Akagera, which is a relatively new park. We're going to focus our attention today on the gorilla trekking in the Volcanoes National Park. The first thing that springs to most people's minds when thinking of Rwanda is its turbulent political history. But Rwanda today is a far cry from the nation it once was in the mid-1990s, as this country has really emerged in an amazing way from the shadows of its past and offers visitors, most notably, a variety of activities, most notably the tracking of endangered mountain gorillas in the lush Virunga National Park, which I mentioned earlier. This park extends across the peaks and jungle-covered slopes of the volcanic Virunga Mountains, which are spectacular and lush, as it sits right along the equator. Other major tourist attractions included the expansive Lake Kivu, as you see there on the left, the ancient Nwenge Forest with its rich population of primate species in the lower left there of the map, and the game-rich savanna uplands of the Akagera National Park that I mentioned earlier. As Cheryl mentioned also, gorilla permits, which are mandatory. Gorilla permits at this time are $1,500 per person. There's a image there now on the screen of our Rwanda primate safari in Volcanoes National Park. This itinerary is 4 days in length and is often done as an extension onto either a Southern Africa or a East Africa, Kenya or Tanzania, more comprehensive safari itinerary. And we'll just focus on this one today. And do keep in mind, as Cheryl mentioned, that this itinerary is just a template, is a suggestion of what can be done in terms of the actual itinerary, depending on where you're coming from and depending on where you're leaving, going to after the itinerary, or after the trip, rather. There we see a little bit of a close-up shot of the Volcanoes National Park, again bordering the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. Bordering those two countries, the Volcanoes National Park is best known for having the region's rare mountain gorillas. Visitors flock here to experience a face-to-face encounter with these intriguing animals. This park is set high in the jungle-covered slopes of these volcanic mountains. They're quite spectacular and quite lush, and highly regulated treks throughout the reserve allow visitors to spend an hour at a time. It's very highly controlled, an hour at a time, with these incredible creatures in their natural habitat. While the gorillas are without a doubt the main draw card, visitors can also look forward to exploring a network of scenic hiking trails, visiting the tomb of the world-famous Dian Fossey, Karasoke Research Center, and enjoying a beautiful day hike to the crater lake of Mount Besok. Here's an example of one of the many fabulous accommodations one can find in and around the Volcanoes National Park. The SABYINYO Silverback Lodge is a 5-star product. It's quite beautiful. The lodge is only minutes away from the headquarters of the Volcanoes National Parks, where you would go to have your gorilla trekking experience, one of the most thrilling, most dramatic, and poignant wildlife experiences possible. The accommodation at this lodge comprises 6 double cottages, 2 suites, and 1 presidential suite, all with en-suite bathrooms, and is located, of course, in a magnificent equatorial region there outside the Virunga National Park. Gorilla trekking, there's 4 images that are very, very typical of what one would experience. The trek itself can range from to find the gorillas can range from an hour to several hours, depending on where the families are located. But it offers visitors the unique opportunity of discovering the 10 families of gorillas that live within the park. And visitors can enjoy a cup of coffee before the trek starts. And then you're separated into groups of 8, so small groups based on your physical ability, because the gorilla families are spread out in different locations. And then with each group, you'll have guides of scouts, rangers, and trekking guides with you at all times. There'll also be porters available to carry a small backpack if you so desire. The amount of time set aside per trek is different depending on where the gorilla family is situated. And as I mentioned, some can take as little as a half an hour, and others could take better part of the day. Some images there of Kigali, the capital of Rwanda. Is quite a beautiful city, actually, sitting around 5,000 feet in elevation. The capital and largest city stretches across undulating, lush hills surrounded by towering mountains such as Mount Kigali, which is approximately 1,850 meters high. That's about 5,000 feet in elevation. So even though you are along, again, the equatorial region of Africa, which is quite lush and tropical, it's quite cool here year-round because of the elevation. Kigali is a pristine city that has come a long way since the genocide of the mid-1990s. It's the country's financial and commercial hub, and served by an international airport featuring a wide range of accommodations, restaurants, and so forth, and other interests, including the very famous Kigali Genocide Center, an atmospheric market, numerous craft shops, and so forth. One thing that one first notices about Kigali when they arrive is the pristine nature of the streets and surrounding neighborhoods. Kigali is one of the many African countries that have adopted the no plastic bag law, so it's virtually free of litter and very safe as well. The Kigali Serena is a good example of the amazing and excellent accommodation in Kigali. It's one of the many hotels that we use there for our clientele, ideally located in one of Kigali's most charming boulevards. The 5-star Kigali Serena is built around a giant atrium, showcasing the very best of Rwanda's cultural art. It's very relaxed, it's very elegant. They have an executive lounge and bar, sun deck, pool, and so forth. It's a large hotel, so there's always very good availability there. So the Kigali Serena, great example of accommodation in the city center. So moving on now to the north, here's a map of Uganda on your left here. As you can see, it's a much larger country than Rwanda, and in the lower left there, you can see of the map, you see Rwanda and Tanzania just bordering the southern border of Uganda, and it's referred to as the Pearl of Africa, as dubbed famously by Winston Churchill. It is a country that has 5 national parks, ranging from the Queen Elizabeth National Park in the center, the Murchison Falls National Park, Kasinga National Park, and the very famous Bwindi Impenetrable National Forest, where the gorilla trekking takes place. It's a home to an astonishing range of African wildlife. Of course, the highly endangered mountain gorilla, which are found in the Bwindi Impenetrable National Forest. Also, the Queen Elizabeth National Park in central western Uganda, which has more typical savanna and game-rich game drives. The Kibale National Park, which is very famous for its primate populations. And then Lake Albert and Lake Edward, which are huge, huge lakes. They're part of the Great Lakes system of East Africa, where there's everything from hiking, rafting, kayaking, horseback riding, and so forth. Gorilla permits in Uganda are $600 per person per trek. That's for an hour of gorilla viewing, so it's a little bit less expensive in that regard. Here's the itinerary or one of the itineraries we do have on our South African Airways vacation website, Uganda Gorillas and Chimpanzees. And this is that 7-day overland itinerary that Cheryl was mentioning earlier, that starts in Entebbe, the capital of Uganda, moves through the overland in a private vehicle through Kibale National Park, on southward to Queen Elizabeth National Park, and then finally ending in the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest for what is arguably the highlight of that trip, which is the gorilla trekking experience. The trip starts in Entebbe. That's where the international airport is located, situated on a peninsula in Lake Victoria. Former seat of Uganda's government. Is just a short drive from the current capital and offers plenty to stay amused while there. It's a charming town, tree-lined streets, has an excellent base to explore the surrounding area. And again, it sits right on the lake, on the shores of Lake Victoria, which is, when you're there, you don't see the other side of the lake. It's the size of an ocean, really. So it's one of the great lakes of East Africa. So when we fly into Entebbe for our Uganda itineraries, that is the international airport. A good example of one of the hotels we use in Entebbe, the Lake Victoria Serena Resort, styled to replicate the lines of a classically rustic Roman villa, which could just as easily stand amid the sunflowers of the Tuscan hills, but on the shores of Africa's largest lake, Lake Victoria. So the trip begins by moving westward from Entebbe through Kampala and onward to the Kibale National Park. There you see in that circle on the left-hand side, just south of Lake Albert. The Kibale Forest National Park is where you will have the majority of your smaller primate species experiences, chimp walks, colobus monkeys, and so forth. Really an amazingly rich wildlife area. Located in southern Uganda, the Kibale National Park is also said to be home to the highest density of primates in Africa. Although the highlight of the park is the habituated chimpanzees, the treetops are alive with all manner of monkeys, more than I can even name here. But when you're not searching for monkeys, there's always 300 plus bird species, butterfly species by the score to keep one busy. It's really, and the forest itself is lush and beautiful. So while there, you'll do your chimpanzee trekking, birding, and guided nature walks. Moving on down to the park accommodation, KYANINGA Lodge is magnificent, as you can see by the photos there, set upon that volcanic ridge above a crater lake, set against the stunning backdrop of Lake KYANINGA and the Rwanda Mountains beyond, which are just below 17,000 feet and form one of the sources of the Nile River. The KYANINGA Lodge is spectacular and the result of one man's vision and 6 years of unwavering commitment to creating an experience of beauty unlike anything else. You can experience the beauty and romance of this unexplored region while staying at the height of luxury and elegance in 9 exclusive cottages made from hand, carved logs with superb dining, where a wealth of adventures await. Moving southward now on your trek, on your overland trek from KYANINGA into Queen Elizabeth National Park. This is where you'll do your overland, more traditional game drives, viewing the Big Four, not the Big Five in this case, where it's a beautiful savanna and game-rich area with elephant, lion, tree climbing lions, hippo, and so forth. Located in southwestern Uganda, the park is one of the country's most popular parks with volcanic mountains, grassy plains, tropical forests, giant lakes, and connected by a channel between Lake Albert and Lake Edward, inhabited by one of the largest populations of hippos in Africa. There's 100 types of mammal species, 606 bird species, including the very rare shoebill stork. I have clients traveling there next week, literally there just to find and photograph the shoebill stork. Kasinga Channel is where you'll do one of your boat trips. Is said to contain the world's largest concentration of hippos, as I mentioned, and other unique wildlife. The lodge that you might stay at. That's a good example of a lodge there, Queen Elizabeth National Park. In its northern sector is the MWEYA Safari Lodge, which offers you an unforgettable experience located on a peninsula and within the heart of the Queen Elizabeth National Park. It's surrounded by the Rwanda Mountains, aptly described in the very famous film from back in the 70s, The Mountains of the Moon. It overlooks the KYANINGA Channel, which links two of the Nile's Great Lakes, Lake Edward and Lake Albert. It offers visitors a spectacular experience of luxury in the wilderness, where all the rooms have wonderful views of the channels. The lodge also offers a range of activities and attractions, game drives, boat trips, wildlife viewing, and so much more. Now on to the Bwindi Impenetrable National Forest, moving southward. This is quite an amazing journey we've taken thus far. The Bwindi Impenetrable Forest is aptly named for the density of its primeval tropical forest, and this is the home of the endangered mountain gorilla, where you'll spend 2 or 3 nights doing your gorilla trekking. Located in southwestern Uganda, the Bwindi Impenetrable Forest is said to be Africa's oldest rainforest and is renowned for its excellent gorilla sighting opportunities. The landscape features mountains, jungles, cascading waterfalls, sparkling mountain streams, deep valleys, and steep ridges, as it is a very mountainous area, and again, quite cool. Although it's a very tropical forest, the temperatures are quite cool most of the time. It's declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its breathtaking natural beauty and unique ecological significance. And aside from the amazing gorilla interactions, there's a network of forest trails, 340 species of birds to spot, butterflies, and so forth. And don't miss the opportunity to explore the spectacular Virunga volcanoes. Good example of one of our beautiful lodges outside of the Bwindi National Forest, the Clouds Mountain Gorilla Lodge. It's remote, it's beautiful, it's intimate, and it's 2,000 meters above sea level. That's well over 6,000 feet, and it's one of Uganda's highest lodges, where one can stay in your own cottage built of volcanic stone, has large sitting areas, overstuffed armchairs, hand-woven carpets, and all the amenities you'd want in a luxury mountain accommodation. It's one of the most beautiful lodges in the area. I'm going to hand it back over to my colleague Cheryl now. Thanks again so much.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Mark. Before we get to the questions, I just want to review a little bit about how to contact us. There's Mark's email and mine as well. For General Agent Commission, we offer 4% on the international base airfare and 10% on the land. However, since we customize all of our itineraries, we'll quote those net, and then you tell us what you would like to add on for your markup or commission. So a big thank you to our travel advisors. You do an awesome job, and we welcome, if you haven't worked with us before, we welcome you to reach out to us. So I'm going to get to some of those questions. We had a question on the map being available somewhere. So this webinar is being recorded. It will be uploaded early next week onto the Travel Agent portal, and you can view it there. Then our next question is, how large are the groups when traveling from one destination to the next or from city to city? So if you're talking about groups, we do not offer escorted tours where there's a group of clients traveling together. However, everything is based on a minimum of a single traveler or 2, up to, if you are offering a group that you would like to have your clients sell into, we can do that as well. The clients are well looked after by our DMC, our destination management company, who handles both Rwanda and Uganda. So really, they're just well looked after. The next question we have is, and it's about groups. So I'm going to, let me see what that question is. What is our group tour conductor policy? Actually, you tell us what you want to include as far as groups. Groups for Rwanda and Uganda are a bit different than they are for the rest of Africa. For pretty much Southern Africa, we offer one free on 20 people for international air, and then one free on 20 packs for land. When we are doing Rwanda and Uganda, because it's such a unique product, and as well as East Africa, if you have a group of 8, we can certainly price in a tour conductor to take the, we can include a tour conductor in that quote that we send you. But remember that you probably want to not include that gorilla permit, especially if you have 2 people, because you don't want 2 tour conductors, because you don't want to price yourself out of the market where you won't get the proposal. So the next question we have is altitude an issue? I'm going to let Mark answer that one.
There is altitude there for sure, ranging from probably 4,000 feet upwards of 6,000 feet. So if someone has a sensitivity to elevation, then regardless of their fitness, then it could be an issue. So that's something you would want to advise your consultant about, and you guys can have that conversation. The other question here: can you do a one-day gorilla trekking? Will seniors be able to do the trek? Is there an easy trek for them? For a gorilla extension in either Rwanda or Uganda, yes, you can do just a one-day gorilla trek, although you'll want to have probably a minimum of 2 nights in and around the park in either Uganda or Rwanda. Most people are only going to do one gorilla trek and then arrive the day before or the day after, or depart the day after rather. And will seniors be able to do the trek again? We just would need to qualify people in terms of their fitness and ability and so forth. And the treks, they will divide the groups up into groups of 8 based on their ability level. So it could be anywhere from just a 45-minute hike through the forest to upwards of several hours. So that's part of the conversation that's really, really important. The next question: I heard recently an African country is now going to allow elephant hunting. Is that true? Hope not. Botswana is having the conversation of allowing very, very limited elephant hunting due to some overpopulation issues, but it's not something that's going to affect what we do. We don't do hunting itineraries and so forth. We only go to game reserves and parks and so forth that are mostly about animal conservation rather than hunting. So not to worry.
Oh, okay. We have another question that just popped on. What is the difference between a hike of 45 minutes and one that is several hours in relation to the gorilla experience?
Great question. For example, when I was there last, from the visitor center at the park headquarters where we had our briefing in the morning, we walked in on a forest road that was relatively flat for about 30 minutes and then took off into the forest, not on a trail, just bushwhacking, but with guides and porters and so forth. That took us about an hour through the forest to find the gorillas, because the gorilla families do move around, obviously, for their food and water and so forth. It's also possible that gorilla family the next day or at some of the time could be 2 or 3 hours away in terms of the hike. So Usually it's not that long, but one would need to be prepared for that possibility. When the treks go off each morning, there's typically several groups that leave from the park headquarters, ranging on your ability level. So I wouldn't let that deter you.
Well, thank you everyone for attending our Rwanda and Uganda presentation, and we look forward to hearing from you. So please feel free, if you have any additional questions, reach out to myself, Cheryl Velser, Cheryl at FlySAAVacations.com, and then Mark Black is Mark Black at FlySAAVacations.com. So we look forward to hearing from you, and again, thank you for attending.